There we go. So what I thought was interesting was that and I have this in front too. I've always kept those words in front of me with waving hands and clouds, because a lot is happening with waving hands and clouds. And I, wanted to make sure I was giving respect to all the movements of that. And so the words that I use were step, switch or change hands, wave, shift, weight. Step, change or switch hands, wave, shift, weight. And so I use the word wave because that's the name of that movement, waving hands and clouds. But the word that y'all use is turn. And I like that word better. So I'm going to see myself shifting into using the word turn, because that's what we're doing, right? We're turning our torso. It's a torso movement where you turn. So you are turning. You're not waving. So I thought that was interesting. And so y'all use the words switch and step, which were the words that I use. Like I said, you just weren't using the word shift, weight. Now, or shift, period. You'd not even shift weight, but just shift. And y'all have to be shifting, because if you weren't, you couldn't step. So you have to completely remove weight from one foot to be able to move the other foot. So I know you're shifting. In Tai Chi, shifting is so important. The basic shift of weight, whether it be side to side through you know what? I need to also pin myself. That way, whenever you watch the recording, I'm the biggest picture. Oh, Lord. I told you I'm new, and I'm learning something new each time. So back to the talking about shifting. So we shift a lot of different times in Tai Chi. So we either shift to step and then shift, bring that foot forward. That's in our commencement move. We also shift and then move this foot as we move that leg forward and back. We also shift, step, shift forward, shift back. So we're shifting forward and back. We're shifting side to side. We also shift, tap to the side, shift, tap. Whenever we do our ankle moves, we're shifting so that we're able to heel toe and side to side. Whenever we wave hands and clouds, we're stepping to the side, where we step, shift, step, shift, step, shift. So whether it be our warm-ups, whether it be in our actual Tai Chi moves, we do a lot of shifting. So always remember how important the weight shift is. When we shift the weight, we strengthen muscles that surround our joints. For just like regular exercise where I'm, walking regular, just throwing my foot out there, keep on going, I use more of my big muscles, or my larger set of muscles, my thigh, my glutes, calves. Those are my bigger muscles, the big muscle groups. But then we have smaller muscles that surround our joints and help stabilize us. And when we slow down, shift, step, there's that empty step, shift. When we slow down, that's when we start engaging those smaller muscles. So I just wanted to say that, even though we don't say the word when we do waving hands and clouds, how important the weight shift is for falls prevention and increasing our balance, right? it's slowing down and shifting the weight. I just always call that the magic of the movements, the base of the movement that really helps us. If you never learn the switch, turn, switch, turn, you know, this right here is Tai Chi. That warms up our spine when we do it this way in our warm-ups. You know, that makes it Tai Chi, the slow, smooth, continuous. That's probably the fastest version of waving hands in clouds. That's Tai Chi. But the reason why Tai Chi helps us with falls prevention is not this, but this. Shift, step, shift, step. It's the weight shift. That's why Tai Chi helps with falls prevention. So just give respect to that. Not that you weren't, I'm not saying you were being disrespectful of it. It's just something that I wanted to mention. Okay, before we get started, do y'all have any questions for me? All right, always feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. If I'm saying something that's confusing, if I'm doing something that's confusing, because if you're confused, it's likely somebody else is too. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. So sometimes I might say something that doesn't make any sense. Not intentionally, but it happens. So we'll get started by walking around. Thankfully, we have warm weather and we don't have to worry about this heater down here blasting warm air to warm up my muscles. But we still want to make sure that our muscles are warmed up so that we prepare ourselves for physical activity. It decreases our chance for injury. So we always warm up. I like to pump my hands, warming up that elbow joint, opening, closing, walking around the room. Because it's virtual, I stay in the space of the camera. I walk forward and backwards. That may not be something that you feel safe doing. So because walking backwards, which I can see myself in the camera, so I know what's behind me, but walking backwards typically isn't recommended for people with problems with balance, because you're walking blind. We don't, even though our kids think we have eyes in the back of our heads, we really don't, right? Just start that natural breathing with taking a good deep breath in and an exhale twice as long as it took for you to inhale. Our goal is to do that diaphragmatic or our deep breathing throughout our Tai Chi. Now let's find our stable stance, thinking about our body structure. My feet are about shoulder width apart. That's where I feel stable. I may be a little further than shoulder width apart. I have nice relaxed shoulders, and I have that good posture, like a string that goes up my spine to the ceiling. No tension, body supported. So let's start with our neck. We're going to bring our hands up, palms down, towards our chin and chest, push away from our bodies, and then follow those hands all the way down, chin towards my chest. Come back up, toward, away, and follow those hands down, feeling a little stretch in the back of your neck. I like to inhale as I come up, and then whenever I'm ready, exhale that air. So we're thinking slow, smooth, continuous. For our other neck exercise, I just start out that same way. When I get here, I drop my hand to my hip. Now I'm going to follow this hand as I look towards my shoulder, back to the front, switch, look over that shoulder, feel a nice stretch, and then come back to the front. So we're not going as far as we can go. We're just going till we feel a little tension or stretch of that muscle and back to the front. Working on the range of motion of our neck, which helps us with everyday activities, namely driving is the one I think of. But it's always good to be able to turn your head and see things. Let's do one more on each side. The more you practice this movement, the more flexible your neck will be. Now let's roll our shoulders. We roll them forward, little circles. It's like we're drawing quarters on the sides of our legs. And then let's roll them back. It's like a little massage you give yourself. Let's do one more set. Forward. And back. Now our other shoulder stretch, we bring those hands up, palms up, and push down in front. Inhale as you come up, and when you're ready, exhale as you push those hands down. We know this is an important one because we do it in the cool downs as well. All right, let's grab our ball and let's stretch our spine. First, we're going to separate the heavens and the earth. The hand that's on top of our ball is going to push down towards the ground. The other hand's going to come up, following that spine, and then push up towards the ceiling. We're pushing up and down at the same time, stretching that spine. Come back to our ball and switch. Back to our ball and switch. I like to inhale as I come to my ball and then exhale as I separate my hands. Just work with that breath and see what feels comfortable and best for you. Sometimes I catch myself inhaling as I separate my hands, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's no problem. Main important thing is that you're breathing. We don't want to be holding our breath. We want to inhale and exhale that air. Let's take our ball for a ride. We're going to turn just as we do in waving hands and clouds. The hand that's on top tells us what direction to go. So we take that ball just above that thigh, switch our hands, come back across, switch. Just a gentle torso warm up. Slow, smooth, continuous. Hands to our side. Give your body a little shake as we make the transition to our lower body stretches. Get me a drink. Our body's held our weight that whole time, so give it a little shake. says, thank you, let me give you a little break. All right, so for our first lower body exercises for our hips, remember this is a good time if you have problems with balance to either use your chair holding on, skipping the hand movements, or you can do them seated. So we're gonna recheck our body structure, making sure our feet are about shoulder width and we feel nice and stable. We're gonna shift our weight to one leg. We're gonna place our heel forward and our hands back, and then bring our hands forward as we take our toe back and out to the side like a kickstand. We don't want to go straight back. That would be like standing with our feet side by side. This warms up our hip. For the most part, we as people sit a lot, and so our hip joint is one that definitely needs to be stretched and warmed up. Now let's shift our weight to the other leg as we place our heel forward, hands back, pause in the middle, and toe back, hands forward. You don't have to pause in the middle. I just like to give my foot a little time to adjust if I need to adjust that balance. Because that's a lot to ask that one leg to hold your weight that whole time. Yeah, that's when my legs start screaming and said, I think that's 4, ma'am. I think 3 was enough. So let's now shift our weight from one leg to the other. So we're going to shift our weight to one leg and tap out that other foot. Bring it back, shift, and tap. So we have our hands stacked and we go in the direction of the weight shift. Shift, tap, back, switch, shift, tap, back, switch. Staying within our frame. We're not leaning into that movement, keeping that body upright. And don't forget to breathe. All that. It's kind of like we're opening a curtain. Pushing a wall. Hopefully a very light wall. Very good. Now for our knees. So we have our loose fists like we're holding an egg that we don't want to break. I have them down here by my hips. There's the weight shift. Shift. We're going to lift that foot, tap out, and punch the opposite hand. Back, shift, lift, tap and punch, and back, shift, lift, tap and punch, back, shift, lift, tap and punch, shift, lift, tap and punch, shift, lift, tap and punch, shift, lift, tap and punch. Yep, that's what my leg says. I think you did 3. Need to learn how to count and talk and all that at the same time. But my leg always tells on me if I get to 4. All right. The next one for our knee, we actually step forward. It's a small step and shift the weight. So I shift, step, heel, toe, shift as I punch, leaving that back foot on the floor, back, feet side by side. Shift, step, heel, toe, shift and punch, shift back, side by side, shift, step, shift and punch, and back, side by side, shift, step, shift and punch, and back, side by side, shift, step, shift and punch, shift back, side by side. Last time, shift, step, heel toe, shift and punch, and back, side by side. Just as a reminder on that movement of why it's so important to keep that back foot flat on the floor is, and this is why I turn sideways, because upright posture is an important principle of Tai Chi. So when we shift and we step, now it just makes sense that we have a tendency to lean forward with the weight shift. That's not what we want to do. We want to keep that upright posture. If I lean forward, or if I shift the weight forward and put this back heel off the floor, see, my body naturally leaned forward because I took that heel off the floor, versus if I leave that heel on the floor and I shift, then my body stays upright. So that heel pulls myself forward. And if you experience that, if you trust yourself enough to experience that, then you know that if you're leaning forward, gravity takes a hold of you, and if you're not careful, it'll send you forward, and that would be falling, and that goes against what we're trying to do here. So just remember, keep that back foot on the floor as you shift weight to that front foot, and then you shift it back, feet side by side, shift, step, keep that back foot on the floor, shift, and come back side by side. All right, I got Miss Gwen coming in. Let me write her down on my attendance log. Okay, welcome, Miss Gwen.
Sorry I'm late. I lost track of time.
That's okay. I'm glad you're here. So we are getting ready to do our ankle warm up. So we have our hands here, or if you want to hold on to your chair, whatever feels comfortable. We're going to shift and we're going to rock that foot, heel toe, heel toe. Working on that flexibility of that ankle joint can help keep us stable if we're ever come across stepping on an item or into a hole, whether it be uneven ground in our yards, or you know, heck, anymore sidewalks are so uneven. You have a piece that juts up, and we take for granted how involved our ankle is and stuff like that. Well, now we'll go big toe, little toe. The more you do these movements, the more flexible your ankle will be and your movement will show. Shift, and then little toe, big toe. Just rocking that foot. I mean, not rocking, turning that foot side to side. All right, give yourself a good shake. Before we get started with our Tai Chi series of movements, do you have any questions, or did anything come up as I talked you through the warm-ups? Me and Gwen identified something that was different, that I said different than what Robin said with waving hands and clouds. So just give me that feedback if I'm saying something that's not the same or that doesn't make sense, and how I can help you better.
You did good. I followed you.
Well, very good. So that's our warm up, and that's what we do every single time. And now we're going to go through our basic six series of movements, beginning with commencement and ending with open and close and closing it out. So we again check our body structure, making sure that we have that upright posture and our feet are spread enough to support our weight. You know, if we have our feet too close together, we're not very stable and supported, but when we widen that stance, that's more stable. If you're ever out and about in the real world and you're having to stand a lot, that's a good stable stance to stand in. One that's even more stable is called a staggered stance, where you take one foot out a little further than the other, and that's the most stable stance that you can stand in. You can stand here for a while and then switch your feet to where the other foot is out a little further. So that's a staggered stance with your left foot in the front, and the other is that staggered stance with your right foot in the front. So that's a good stable stance to help keep you balanced and upright. And so that's our goal, is to take what we learned in Tai Chi about body awareness out into the real world so that we're balanced and able doing our everyday activities. So it's not necessarily learning what waving hands and clouds is, it's learning the movement of our bodies so that we can move in our daily lives. All right, so starting with commencement, we have our weight on both legs, our hands to our side. Commence, bring those hands up and down. Shift the weight to that right foot. Step left, bring those hands up. Shift left as those hands go out. Right foot forward, hands come back, open and close. Single whip, shift left, step right. Push, turn, separate, following that left hand. Shift left, bring that right foot back. Here we go. This is where we're different. We keep that hand up as we bring this right foot back and the right hand down. Now we're going to switch our hands, step right, and turn. Remember, we're shifting as we turn. Switch, step, turn. Switch, step, turn as I shift. Switch, step, turn. Switch, step, turn. Switch, step, turn. I think that's 3 to the middle for open and close. How's that?
That's good.
All right, here we go. Single whip, shift right, step left, push, turn, separate, following that right hand, shift right, bring that left foot back, left foot back, left hand down. We're leaving our right hand up. Let's switch, step, turn, shift as I turn, switch, step, 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 turn, to the middle for open and close, and close it out. How was that?
Good.
I did good, Miss Gwen. I told them that I learned from you the different words, and that I really ended up liking the word turn, because that's what we're doing, is turning and not waving. So I'm thankful for that. what I know at the end of that first single whip, leaving that hand up. So that's something that I was bringing my both hands down and then switching. So we talked about how we do all the right movements. We just do them. We were doing them a little differently. So y'all were leaving your hand up, then bringing it down as you brought the right hand up. And I was going ahead and just bringing it down and then bringing that right hand up. So we did the same thing. It's just a little bit different. So be patient with me as sometimes I revert back to the way I've always done it. Thinking about a weight shift with our commencement, keeping in mind that when we shift the weight, our hands are going down, the weight is going down to that right foot, and we step, and then to shift the weight, our hands are going out or forward as the weight is shifting forward to that front foot. And so I don't know if you've ever really thought about the weight shift and the movement of your hands, how they go together. But when you think of it like that, it helps it be more smooth and continuous of a movement. So we go up, down, and shift. Step, bring it up, shift as those hands go out, and bring it back. So like I said, I don't know if y'all have ever thought about the weight shift as the hands go down, the weight shift as those hands go out. It just gives it that real fluid movement there. Whenever you're stepping out for our commencement, it's a small step. We're not taking big leaps here. We keep our body upright as we shift the weight and then bring those hands back. And then open and close. So open and close is a breath. And y'all excuse me if y'all have heard this umpteen a million times. But open and close is a breath. So if I have my hands here and I inhale, my hands go out or open. When I exhale, my hands close. So that open and close is a breath. It's an inhale and an exhale. So you're not even actually moving your hands. It's a breath. Now you can take open and close a step further, and you can use gentle resistance as if you are playing an accordion or doing the bellows whenever you're putting air on a fire, that's a bellows. I've learned that an accordion, that's called a bellows. So when we're opening and closing, we can add a little bit of resistance by pushing and pushing as we open. So that's just experiencing open and close in a different way using gentle resistance. You can use it simply as a breath where you inhale and exhale. They naturally open and close, or you can really dig in and add gentle resistance. When you use gentle resistance, you're using muscles that you wouldn't normally use whenever you're doing that movement, because you're not pushing against an accordion. You're the same thing with that shoulder exercise. Here you can use gentle resistance. As you come up and you push down, you can use gentle resistance by pretending that you're in water. So say you're in water, maybe you're a mermaid, you can breathe underwater, you're completely underwater. And you inhale, it's like you're pushing through water, and you exhale as you push through water. So you're engaging muscle that you wouldn't be using if you just inhaled and exhaled. Both are right. They're just different experiences of the same movement. Gentle resistance is a principle of Tai Chi. And so that's something that we, whenever we practice our Tai Chi, we say things like, okay, this time I do my movements, I'm going to focus on gentle resistance, or moving like I'm moving through water to engage muscle. Or this time I practice my Tai Chi, I'm going to practice on slow, smooth, and continuous. And that time, not worry about gentle resistance. But it all goes back to principles whenever we do the movement as we practice. So that's open and close using gentle resistance. With our single whip, we have push, turn, and now when we separate, we continue to move both hands. Even though our eyeballs are on our left hand for the first single whip, we don't forget about that right hand. Because if we do, then it doesn't open up that chest the same way. So you can do it the wrong way and the right way and feel the difference. So you push, turn, separate both hands, and that opens up that chest there. Or if the wrong way is pushing, turn, and just moving that left hand. See, it's a different experience because you're not opening up your chest. So, you know that saying, out of sight, out of mind, sometimes I've caught myself doing it. This has been years ago when I was, you know, getting better at my Tai Chi, but I caught myself forgetting about that hand. And when I saw myself recorded, I said, "Oh, you're not even moving that hand." Reminding myself, moving both hands out opens up that chest, and that's important for that movement, both ways that we do it. Opening that chest for single whip. And then with waving hands and clouds, remember to give full respect to the weight shift, step, shift, step. And sometimes it's practicing to find your magical point of how far you step out. So what works best for me is when I step out, see, I'm further than hip width apart. And then when I step in, I'm right about hip width apart. Shift, step, shift, step. We don't look down whenever we move, because if we look down, that puts us towards falling. So if you can do this in a mirror to notice where your feet are, but what I'm doing is picking up my foot to place it down just beside where it was just at. And that is a movement that you kind of have to work with. Oh, I stepped out way here. That's too far. Oh, I stepped too close when I stepped in. That's too close. So you just find that place that feels the most stable, and sometimes that takes time. So those are just some little tips about each of our movements. So let's go back to practicing those. Any questions about any of that?
No.
So remember that we have our principles. That's what we always go back to. We have our movement control, which is slow, smooth, and continuous. And we have gentle resistance. We have body structure, which is an upright posture. And then we talk about weight transference. So those are something I like to refer to a lot because it's our principles. All right, so here we go. Let's start back at the beginning with commencement. And so the principle we are going to focus on is slow, smooth, and continuous in our movements. So yes, we're slow, even if we have to pretend we're in slow motion. We're continuous because as soon as we come up, we're coming down. So we don't do anything sharp, stopping and starting. It's a smooth, continuous movement. So here we go from the top and commence. Up, down, shift, step, shift and out, forward, hands back, open and close. Single whip, push, turn, separate, following that left hand. Shift, switch, step, turn, shift, step, turn, switch, step, turn, switch, step, turn, switch, step, turn, switch, step, turn. To the middle for open and close. Single whip, shift right, step left, push, turn, separate, following that right hand, shift right, bring that left foot back, hands down, switch, step, turn, switch, step, turn, sorry, switch, step, turn, switch, step, turn, switch, step, turn, switch, step, turn. To the middle for open and close. And close it out. So I get a big fat F on slow, smooth, and continuous on waving hands and clouds. Give me just a second. My daughter has called me twice, and I need to let her know that I'm in class. I will call you back. I'm in class. They're on winter break, so she gets to be home. She got to sleep in. I didn't speak to her this morning. Okay, so any questions? Y'all just want to keep practicing. Are y'all okay with me not talking through the movements, but just doing the movements? So like saying commencement, open and close,
That's
single
fine.
whip. Okay, let's practice that. That may be easier to do slow, smooth, and continuous. Okay, here we go. And commence. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. Single whip. Open and close. So that was easier to focus on slow, smooth, and continuous. I caught myself holding my shoulders up a little bit and creating a little tension for myself. And that's whenever I relaxed my shoulders. So I say that to remind you that throughout the Tai Chi, throughout your day as you're moving, just check in with your body and how are you holding it and how you can fix it. Because if you're holding tension in your shoulder, and this is an extreme exaggeration, but if you're holding tension here, then you're going to start having pain in your shoulders and in your neck. So the more you can check in with yourself and relax those your body and be supportive of your body through the way you stand, the less pain that you will have. So that's just part of body awareness that we learn in Tai Chi. So let's do our movements again, focusing on slow, smooth, and continuous. Here we go. And commence. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. Close it out. You feel the slow, smooth, and continuous of those movements. Makes it a nice experience. So something in Tai Chi that we sometimes talk about, sometimes it can be a little difficult to grasp. I always think of it in terms of our faith as Christians. We believe things that we can't see. And so in Tai Chi, we have something that's called life energy. We can't see it. It's what makes our bodies different than a body that's in a casket. We're both bodies, but my body is alive because it has energy in it. And so whenever we're doing movement, the energy is flowing in our bodies. And so we have what's called song joints. It's spelled S-O-N-G, just like singing. Song joints that means open joints. So let's say, let me show you some examples. So a song elbow joint is here. You see, I have a slight bend in that elbow. A closed joint would be if my elbow was either straight here, that's a harsh joint, or if it was tight against, my elbow is tight, like my elbow is completely bent here. That's a closed joint. An open joint is a soft joint. Thinking about our armpits, okay? So this right here, that's our shoulder joint. And so our armpit is the opposite of our shoulder. And so if we have a closed shoulder joint, then our arms are flat down against our bodies. If we have an open joint, then we have a little bit of space here. And so when we have open joints, energy can flow in our bodies. And so remember, like I said, it's kind of hard to talk about and explain because we can't really see it, but we can feel open joints. So if I do commencement and I come up, you see I'm Frankenstein here. That's a closed joint. I'm commencement. But in Tai Chi, I soft bend that elbow and bring those hands up. I have to keep that soft bend in my elbow as I come up. So even though I'm out, I'm not out. Same thing as whenever I shift that weight and bring those hands forward, I'm out, but I'm not out. That closes that joint. That keeps that energy from flowing, keeping those soft joints, keeping that openness in my armpits, not keeping my hands flat against my chest. So you can feel that difference. A little bit of space as I come up and down, keeping that armpit open versus here. And even if you've never thought about it before, you're probably doing it because it's easier to move when you have a little space right there. So that's what's called a song joint or an open joint. Same thing with our knees. We have that soft bend in our knees as we stand versus standing straight up. Soft. I guess it's a hard joint. If this is a soft joint, why shouldn't that be a hard joint? And that just helps keep that energy flowing through our bodies when our joints are open. So that's part of the internal principle of Tai Chi. So let's think about open joints as we do it one more time, and then we'll cool down. Here we go. And commence. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. I got myself messed up. Redeeming myself here. And open and close. Close it out. So that may have been a big ask to think about our open joints, but just remember to keep everything soft whenever we're doing our Tai Chi so that that energy can flow. We're not harsh movements, harsh cheerleaders. We keep that soft bend in our joints. Let's beat ourselves. So how was that? Good. Okay.
It's great, but I'm still going the wrong way. I gotta work on it more.
It's okay. I told you mirror image is hard for me, so I don't think I could ever do it. I'm always willing to turn around if that you think that will be helpful. Y'all just always let me know.
No, because I mean, I was so used to doing it with Robin facing us, so it's not that. It's just somehow or another when I get to, I'm going the wrong way.
My theory is always, if you went the wrong way the first time, just keep doing it the wrong way and it all evens out because you did it on all the ways.
Yeah, that's what I find myself doing.
One more, gather intention and then letting it go. Big circle. I like to think about gathering that good stuff and pushing away any bad stuff. Let's do one more. We have our loose fist that represents our strength. Our fingers up and together represents our friendship. Our thumb bent in is our humility. So we have strength, friendship, and humility. And in mutual respect, we say namaste. So thank you again for being patient with me. I did remember to record this, although it took me a few minutes to remember to pin myself. So I'll be the one that you see. You may see the top of Miss Susie's head for a little bit on the recording. That will be uploaded to my YouTube channel, which y'all have access to. And so you can rewatch the class and follow it, or you can use other recordings that I've put up there that, there's a recording that's just for each of the movements, whatever movement that you may be wanting to practice. But our goal is to come to class to learn, practice, get better, and then come back to class to learn some more or to ask questions or clarify. That's my goal, is to help you think about these things throughout the week, and just integrating them into your daily life. So thank y'all for joining me today, and I will see y'all next Tuesday, right?
Right.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
All righty. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.